Welcome to the Starting SaaS podcast. My name is Michaela Richmond, and this podcast is all about creating a foundation for SaaS. Welcome to the Starting SaaS podcast. Today, I'm excited to welcome onto the podcast Jake Radic. We are going to be talking about sales, mindset, and his journey from D1 football into SaaS. He is the Director of BDR at Siono. Let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So the first topic, I love to cover this first. How did you get into SaaS and from D1 football? How did you get there?
So I always think this one's funny because I hear and see a lot on LinkedIn of people trying to break into SaaS and they had to apply to a bunch of different places and they had their sights set on SaaS and they were like, I'm going to do it. And they just gritted it out, however many apps they needed to do. I applied to a company based in Colorado Springs, BombBomb, because of their location. I knew I wanted to get into sales. My pops was in sales and my personality fits it. It's a skill I wanted to acquire, skill I wanted to learn. And I wanted to move to Colorado. So I was like, I'll just find a sales job there. And they were hiring and I sent the application in and I got hired. So it was more by chance. I kind of stumbled into it, but very grateful to stumble into it.
Yeah. And why did you want to get into SaaS? So like some people don't even know that SaaS exists.
I didn't know SaaS existed, I guess. So like I said, I wanted to get into sales. It was a skill I wanted to learn early on. I'm not sure how many of your listeners are familiar with the idea of skill stacking, but especially for starting out in SaaS, it's something they should look into. It's the idea of like throughout life, you're going to pick up and acquire more skills and become more and more valuable. And what was the first most valuable skill I wanted to learn was sales, because that'll carry into every aspect in life. So I was like, I'm going to get a sales job. And I knew tech sales, there was money to be made in tech sales. That's definitely part of the thing that fueled it. But I was looking at other sales jobs too. So it was more by chance that this one worked out the best.
That's really cool. So what was the first job that you had?
So I was a BDR at BombBomb, which if you guys aren't familiar with BombBomb, it's video messaging for your prospects to get to know you at a deeper level, helps you stand out, differentiate, definitely worth it all the way. It's fantastic. Little shameless plug for my former.
And so you went to BombBomb and you were BDR entry level. You were learning everything. What was that like? What did you learn? What are some of the biggest skills that you took away from that?
That was really cool because my managers, the two that hired me, Dan Hawkins, he's awesome. He's at Circle CI now. He's head of global business development. And then Devin Bridges is at Reprise. She's director of business development. I believe they were phenomenal people to learn from. And they were very big on leading metrics instead of following ones. So like for those of you guys just getting started, leading is like what you can control and the following is the outcome. So for us, it was, are you hitting your number that's quantifiable? How many calls did you make? How many emails did you send? How many activities to generate conversations did you do? Which was a really cool foundation to learn of like, as long as I sit down and I focus on hitting these, I should see success.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And how did they choose those metrics?
So we were being not judged or graded, but we were being quantified on how many calls we made, emails sent out, LinkedIn connects, all that stuff was tracked through outreach. And then prospects added to make sure that we were hitting our number. The methodology behind it was, are you actually talking to people who are our prospects? Are you putting effort into creating conversations?
That makes a lot of sense. One of the things I've always wondered about salespeople, because I've heard from a couple of salespeople that it's difficult to sometimes hit all of the numbers. It's almost like you're a function. Was that ever difficult for you, just like knowing that you had to hit numbers and, I don't know, feeling like you were semi-robotic at some points?
No, I don't think so. But I think a lot of it has to do with my background in football kind of set me up for success because that's a lot of like do the dirty work in the winter and the summer. Like just do what you have to do what you have to do. You'll reap the benefits later. The hard part is balancing hitting your number and doing a lot of activity to like, what is the quality of this activity? How personalized am I making this email? How much effort am I putting into that first out? Which that becomes a very hard battle when you're being held to a certain metric of you need this many activities. But at the same time, it's like the less you do, the more effort you can put into them.
So how did you decide how to go about that?
Well, I failed early. So when they give me a target, I was like, sweet, I'll blow this thing out of the water. And I was like super big on like, I'm just gonna do as many activities as possible. I was calling a ton, I was emailing a ton, but my emails would take like 30 minutes. I was like, send, 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 send. No one replied to them. So when I sat down with my manager and we were kind of diagnosing, sitting down, like Devin was like, how much time are you putting into researching? How much of that research are you then putting into these emails? And I was like, not a whole lot. So she was like, all right, let's start putting some more time in there. And it's something I still battle with now. We definitely do it a lot more at Siono than I did at Bomb Bomb, but that's something I had to fail to learn.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think it's your battle? Like what maybe character traits or like what leads to that being one of the issues for you?
Sales is a numbers game. You know, you're not going to get everyone, but at the same point, it's how can you do a lot of activity and still get responses out of that activity?
Mm,
Because I could make like the most beautiful cold email for one person if you give me a whole day.
mm-hmm.
And talking with a lot of other people in SaaS, I'd say most people are really they battle that as well.
Mm-hmm. So that's the reason that there's a lot of question about whether or not sales should have quotas and numbers like they do. Do you agree with quotas or do you think there are better models for doing it?
I agree with quotas so long as there is a rhyme and reason behind why that is a quota. I think if organizations are seeing quota attainment at like sub 50%, even sub 75%, I think it takes some reevaluation of somewhere. I do think there needs to be that reward for people who do really well. I think as humans, all of us are going to be um, inspired by doing well, inspired by if you do well, you get paid more. Let me do like a little extra. And that becomes a really fair exchange between a company who wants you to do more and you who wants more money.
Mm. So hypothetically, this is just a hypothetical. If there were other metrics for success and it wasn't just quota, so like doing something, would that work as well in your mind?
Doing something as in,
Like, for example, you need to hit this many cold outreaches versus you need to get this many replies. Or I don't know. It's just a thought, but I don't know if that holds up.
that does. So one thing I do think that comes down to the company and how management works. I like that approach a lot. But I think it's important to have that tagged with a quota then.
Mm,
Because one thing, Dan and I sat down, this was back in December. We went through, now that we had like 3 months data for me working, we went through how many emails does it take for me to get a meeting? How many calls does it take for me to get a meeting? How many LinkedIn, like we went through all the numbers, funneled them into this is what it takes for you to get a meeting. Do this many activities, expect this many meetings. So then from there, I pretty much had a baseline of if I need however many meetings in a month, just multiply whatever activity to get one by that number. But at the same time, I'm going to be getting better because I'm doing training. So those numbers should go down. And it's a way to track progress. It's a way to move things forward. I still think holding people accountable to doing their job is important.
hmm I don't disagree. Okay, so let's go back to you. You're at Bomb Bomb. You have this role as a BDR. Um, what was your, I guess, step up the ladder? Like, how did you progress? How did you get better and then get into different roles?
Being proactive. Being proactive will lead to more success than just waiting around. So I met with my managers more than what was scheduled. When they were in person, I popped into their office. Dan was in person more than Devin, but Devin, I was talking to her on Slack like nonstop throughout the day. I'd send them clips of my cold calls. We used Chorus. So you could run it back, say, hey, this is how I handled the objection. Take a listen. What are your thoughts? They'd give me feedback. I was meeting with some of the AEs that I was close with. They'd help me out. One of them specifically ended up being my best friend there. We did a lot of work together when I got like introduced into his pod, and he helped me like really progress, which was super fun. But just being proactive. Like I personally want to be better, not for the company, but for me. I want to be a more valuable salesperson. I want to be better at my job. So I just took whatever steps I felt to get there.
I like that. It's like a positive, selfish approach to your role because, like we said in the beginning, you're not just a function. Like you are a person, a human being. That's really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think anyone who really wants to level up or level up in any way, you want to make more money, you want to be a leader. Like if you're not selfish about getting better, you're never going to get there. Like it all starts intrinsically.
Mm-hmm. That kind of makes me think about what you've learned as, this pro football player, the D1 is very hard to get to. There are so many people that want to play D1. How did you get there? And you said a little bit of how it kind of translated, but if you can expound on that a little bit more, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I worked really, really hard for that. My junior summer going into junior year, summer going into senior year, my dad and I traveled up and down the entire East Coast pretty much from South Virginia Beach all the way up to the University of Maine doing football camps. Like anyone who was willing to, I was a quarterback, anyone who was willing to watch me throw, I'd throw in front of them. And it was just how many eyeballs can I get on me? Because even if they looked at me and they didn't like me, they'd tell me why they didn't like me. And that at least lets me know, like, okay, let me work on this. Let me be better in this aspect. And it was just what I was really passionate about. It was what my goals were. If you really want me to dive into the story, I made a promise to my mom and dad my freshman year. My brother was going into Penn State. They were worrying about student loans. It was a whole thing. And I promised my mom and dad, like when that was my turn, they won't have to worry about loans. So that was like really the catalyst for when I started working a lot harder.
Wow, that adds a different dimension to it because sometimes most of the time it's just the desire for football. And I think that the fact that you added that second element, it was like, I have to do this. I'm going to do this. Do you do that often whenever you're positioning yourself for sales? Like you create a stronger why for yourself?
Yeah, in my room, I have a whiteboard, and the whole top right corner is dedicated to like my whys. And
That's cool.
out of five of them, two of them involve me. Three of them are for my close family, like my driving factors that really motivate me to do more and chase more and achieve more. And I have a number attached to it too. Like once I hit this amount yearly, I should be able to execute on all three things for them at a baseline level.
So you've taken a lot of time to figure this out for yourself.
A lot. Yeah. I'm very big into the vision, believing it, setting a goal and just like chase. Like it's one thing to say, I want to walk 10 miles. It's another thing to say, like, I'll walk a mile every day for the next 10 days. Like it's just digestible. It breaks it down. And what I wanted to do was like see all the things I wanted to achieve, whether it's for myself or for the people in my circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know exactly what that looks like. So when the Siono opportunity came around, I was able to go to these whys and say, like, does this help me get closer to that? Yes, it makes sense for me to take this job.
Mm. How long did it take you to figure that out or to really understand your whys and to create metrics against your whys and to like go into as much depth as you have?
I don't know if it ever really had like a concrete start. So that becomes a tough question to answer. Like I think even in
Mm.
college, I was dreaming of like, I want to travel my parents when they retire. Like I want to be able to help my siblings with their loans. Cause I didn't have a whole lot of student debt. You know, like I'm at a different place. So I want to be able to help those who are who have that other place that I never experienced. So like I've always dreamt of these things. It was just like actually sitting down and putting it into writing. Sometimes you just got to hear something on a podcast or read something on LinkedIn of someone who did it. It's like, man, I should do that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that like so I'm very big into the vision setting and the mapping out your desires and writing out exactly how you're going to do it and then rooting it in a deeper why. Um, I haven't yet set metrics against it though. So that's something that I'm challenging myself to do next.
That
But
was hard. That one was hard. That was actually my girlfriend's inspiration. She's big into visualization too. So like I had these whys and she was like, well, what's the number? And I was like, what do you mean what's the number? Like I don't get it. And she was like, how much do you have to make in a year to say like, yes, I can do all of these things and it's taken care of? And I was like, oh, that number. I'll get back to you on that. So
yeah, yeah, it makes it more tangible.
super tangible. Yep. And then even when I do like side hustles or look into other things, it's like it's not like I'm doing it just for me. I'm able to be like, oh, I'm X% closer, which is super cool. I'm a numbers nerd. I love that stuff. But being like, oh, I am now 1% closer, 1.5% closer, it fires me up.
Because you majored in finance, correct?
Yeah. If they had a sales or entrepreneurship major, I don't really know if they have those in college. It's not really it's kind of like an oxymoron, I guess. I would have done that, but finance I thought made the most sense for me. Um, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I would have done finance too, because it's just like it's a skill. You know, you come out of it and you're like, I have a skill. I understand numbers. I'm good. Yeah, no, totally understand that. So let's get back into the why, the vision setting. I think that's very applicable for salespeople because salespeople, like you have a number, you have something that you're chasing consistently, and I mean, you do have metrics tied to it, but I like the idea of tying a why behind all of those things. So why am I, working so hard? Um, can you explain a little bit more about how you implement this why and this like why do I chase things in your day to day?
Like how do I apply that motivation to my day to day?
Yeah, how do you apply that? How does it change the way that you go about working?
I would say it doesn't change anything in the highs of working. Like when I'm working, I'm feeling good and my energy's right and I'm enjoying it. It doesn't change anything. It's still just show up and do my job. But whenever I'm in a slump or I'm feeling lazy or I just don't feel like doing it today, it's that kick in the shins of like, damn, it's not even about me and I'm over here complaining. Like there's things that I'm doing that like if I actually want to get there, I need to just toughen up. And
Mm,
I don't think that's the advice I'd give to everyone. I think there's a lot of self-awareness that comes with that thought because I am able to have that negative thought to myself, like be better, be tough. And I don't look down on myself for that. I think part of it was that's the football environment. Like
mm-hmm,
anytime you mess up or you're not doing great, it's like we need more out of you. And it's not like anything personal. I'm not like, oh, I hate myself. It's like I just expect more out of myself and I know I can handle that high expectation.
mm-hmm. What kind of advice would you give to people that are starting sales and, trying to get everything under control, trying to figure out how they're going to, do everything that they need to do, be proactive in their environment, etc.
I would say a couple things. First and foremost, accept that failure is a part of success. Like I think until you accept that like you're gonna fail to move forward, I always refer to it as failing forward. Until you accept that failing forward is a part of the process, like you're only gonna get so far. The other thing is like network with people in the company, network with groups on Facebook, network with people on LinkedIn. That helped me a lot because I was able to look at these people, and it's never good to compare yourself to others, but sometimes like there is that added motivation. I'd talk to people and I'd be like, okay, what they're doing, I can definitely do. And if they're doing this, then like I know I can get there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say accepting failure, networking, and then just being proactive about getting better. Like, and everything can take care of itself. Like, if you believe in yourself and you put yourself in a position to succeed and you're okay failing to get to that success, anything is possible.
So having a healthy relationship with failure is very difficult though. And like there are so many people that do not have a healthy relationship with failure. Why do you think that you do? Football?
Maybe football. I also think I've had a lot of discussions with people about how just in life you have to fail. And I
Mm,
think this is a big gripe I have with like the modern education system of like the whole idea of failure when I was younger was like, oh my God, my mom's gonna be so disappointed in me. And like that, if my mom's disappointed in me, like that rips my heart out. So like the idea of failure, like I was scared of it. And then eventually I did come to a point, maybe it was from football. It was playing quarterback. Sometimes you have to be okay taking risks and failing and understanding that like it's not going to be perfect, but it's better to try and fail. And I had a talk with my college coach about this a lot. We'd get into that discussion. So I think that is where it's rooted from.
how did you help yourself get out of that?
Oh man, it's so funny. Like the advice of caring less about failure is to fail more, but how do you care less about it to start? It's like you just got to do it. You just got to do it. It's like going to the gym for the first time. Like you think everyone cares, you think everyone's going to watch you and judge you for not like lifting right or doing a lot of weight, but you got to realize like no one cares. And most people, like if I see a fat person in the gym, I'm not like, what are they doing here? I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like you're changing, you're doing something great for yourself. And I think when you realize that most people are scared to fail and most people are just like you anyways, it becomes a lot less intimidating.
I like that. I've also heard the advice not about failure, like any specific type of failure, but talking in conversations and how you're always thinking about how you look in a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The advice that I heard was so is the other person. Like stop thinking about you and start thinking about them because then you change the way that the dynamic is. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. And I think that goes also along with the idea of like, if depending on where you want to take this conversation, being comfortable in your own skin. Like
hmm
when you have like pride in who you are, you stand for good things, and like you know you're on a good mission, a positive mission. Like, yeah, you're gonna mess up, but you're not doing it to harm anyone. You're not doing it to harm yourself. You might be goofy in a conversation. Like, if they judge you, so be it. Like, they just aren't your type of people.
hmm Let's go into that for a second. So, being comfortable in your own skin, it's really difficult. You said that one of your favorite things to talk about is the mindset that goes into sales. What is
Mhm.
that mindset, and how can like a beginner salesperson or even a moderate, like a medium salesperson, become just amazing with their mindset, like have a killer mindset?
It goes a lot. I'm really confident saying this. It goes a lot into what are you comparing yourself to? So like once you have the baseline, like it's sales, you're gonna fail anyways, you might as well try. It's am I comparing myself to who I was yesterday? So like these small wins in getting that mindset of failing is okay because it moves you forward. Right. So once you come to terms with like, I need to fail to move forward, like, okay, failing is good. How do I fail then? You try, you mess up. Okay, how do I fix that? So for me, it was like objections on cold calls. The feedback loop is like that. It's like, hey, now's not a good time. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Hang up. Hey, Devin, like I had no idea what the hell I was saying here. Like, can you give me some direction? Provide me some feedback. It was great. So the next time I had that call, like I instantly could see like, oh, I made progress. Right. And I think a lot of the mindset is how much progress are you making to who you were yesterday? How much are those experiences building? Because it's not an easy road, but when your comparisons are intrinsic and internal, you're able to get a better scoreboard than looking at like other people. So it's like, am I okay failing? Am I getting small wins? I think is like 75% of the battle.
Mm, I love that a lot. What kind of information would you have wished that you knew whenever you had begun?
Laugh it off. Like if someone would have like it, someone probably did tell me, but it's a lot different when you process it. Like you're gonna get knocked down. People aren't gonna want to talk to you. You're gonna get people cursing you on the phone. Like laugh it off. It's funny. I had someone, I shot him a text and they said, please never contact me again, ever. Return, ever. And I sent them a gif of the Simpsons guy when he like backs into the bush and it's like him just slowly disappearing. Like it's part of the game. It's all a game.
I like it. And so obviously there are a couple of things that you did well. Well, this is actually interesting. So it is a game, but there are things that give you advantages to the game. One thing we mentioned is mindset. What are the second thing, proactivity. What are some other things that gave you advantages whenever you were trying to, do really well at this game that is sales?
This is like a super football mentality. I was like, I am going to show up and outwork every single person. Like I dominated the activity board day in, day out. I was an East Coast time rep and I like being up early. So I'd go in at 7 when everyone else goes in at 8. So for this first 45 minutes of like solitude, no one in the office, I would clock in as many calls as I could. Some days no one picked up. I'd get like 85 calls. Great. Some days a lot of people would pick up. I'd get like 40 calls. But I knew like it just, and this is the football part of me. It fires me up so much knowing that I am working when other people aren't and that I am getting better. So there's a lot of competitive aspect to it. That's me versus others, but there's also like the me versus me competitiveness of let me outwork who I was yesterday. Let me work myself into being a better salesperson.
I love that. I think that's great. Um, so what happened after you were a BDR? What was the trajectory that you went on before you became the director of BDR at Siono?
So we restructured. BombBomb was originally going after like other SaaS companies. We had a couple different spaces we were in, and we wanted to niche down into specifically like mortgage and insurance. So what we did is we restructured. I became an account executive for like really, really small businesses. So single users, 2 users, 3 users in the insurance industry, which was a lot of fun because I was continuing to call, I was continuing to email, but now I was doing demos and trying to close people, which is like a whole new game to play, which is a lot of fun.
Explain that. So demos and closing people, what is the difference in the game and I guess what are the different skills that you need to do well in that game versus the other?
It's time, it's just time and experience to get better. Like I the mentor I was talking about, Justin Dornbos is his name. He's an AE at BombBomb. Like he was like a bird taking me under his wing. He helped me, like that was my guy. Every time I'd mess up a demo or do great, like he was the first person I went to. So I had a mentor like guiding me through this process and showing me the ropes. But it's different because you're trying to, instead of like pique their interest, like, hey, this could be something that makes sense. Like, how do you get them to internally say, like, this is something I want? This
Mm.
makes sense for me. And it's not like I could tell you, hey, this is great, it'll do X, Y, and Z. And you're like, I don't believe you. That doesn't do anything. But when they say, like, oh yeah, no, that's right, I should use this. And then it's actually getting them to pull the wallet out, actually getting them to pay for it. Like it's a completely different rush. Is that a good word? It's a different game. It's a fun little rush of like the adrenaline's a little higher. You got to be a little more in the moment. There's more nuances. It's fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, were there any interesting experiences that you had during a demo?
Yeah, I can think of two that were like wildly different in their
Okay.
so one guy, he was like on a walk during this. He was on his iPhone and I was going with him and I was like, "Look, dude, like I really don't think this is a good time. I don't think this is something you're seriously interested about and like I'm okay just calling the demo like before it even starts." Or like we were just starting it before we even get into it. And he goes, "What? No, why would you do that?" I was like, "Well, clearly you're not interested. Like you're doing A, B, and C." He goes, "Oh, I'm not interested. I'll pay right now." Okay, we'll pay right now. And it was like the weirdest close. I was like, I'm not interested in being with someone who's not going to respect my time. And he like was like, okay, if you don't think I'm interested, I'll prove you wrong. And then there was another time where this is super similar to the SpongeBob episode when drops his wallet and he's like, "Is this you, Patrick? In this wallet? Is this your wallet?" No, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It cracks me up.
I have no idea.
I'll send it to you after this. It's so funny. But we got to the end of the demo and I'm like, "Look, you said that you're gunning for A, B, and C. Do you see this helping you get to those goals?" Yes. Do you think that if you got to those goals, you could get more revenue? Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. And that's ultimately what you're trying to do with your business? Yeah. It's like, so are you interested in signing up today to help you get to those goals? Like I'm over here like linking everything I got, tying it back to discovery. I thought I was killing it. And they were like, no. Like, okay,
Interesting.
why is that? And they're like, I just don't think it's going to do A, B, and C. I was like, you just told me you think it would. And now you're saying it's not. And they're like, no, it would. It would. So do you want to sign up? No. Okay.
Weird. How did you close that? Like how did
I
you
didn't.
end No, but how did you end the demo? You're just like, thank you for your time kind of a thing?
Well, we did that dance like 4 or 5 different times until
Oh
I was,
wow.
it was like, do you not see the connection here? But I tried and failed. And I was like, look, if you're not interested, I get it. Do you think there's any agents who would be interested in this that would be worth my time that's in your circle?
Interesting. You said the worth my time. So like do you say that often? Because obviously your time is worth a lot, especially whenever you could be closing a different deal. Are you overt about that whenever you're closing and whenever you're selling?
Yeah. And it's something that I think that's another experience thing. Like everyone tells you, like, don't dance with prospects who don't want to buy. Be conscious of people who like don't actually show interest. But when you first start, it's like you'll take anything you can get. Like if someone's like, I'm kind of interested, you're like, dude, I got a mate, I'll figure it out. So once you get better at that, it's like, is this really someone I want to deal with? This is going to be a headache 2 weeks from now. But the is it worth my time's always for I always use that for referrals. Like, is anyone else worth my time to reach out? Worth the time to reach out to? Anyone else interested? Like all those kind of things fall in the same bucket.
Mm-hmm. What are your favorite deals?
My first deal at Siono got me so excited. I was so excited
Really?
about that one. Yeah, because we're a really small team. We're growing, but this was a we finally got and Siono's different because we work with SaaS companies. I was in the SaaS space. Now I'm doing like software development staffing within the SaaS space. So like we're like a cousin now, I guess. But these people are growing, they need software developers, and they're like, we want this guy. And right as we got them to be like, we want to hire him, he was like, hey, I got another job offer. I'm thinking about taking it. And this was on a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock East Coast time. So my people are all East Coast. Like they're helping me out. We got it to like just push over the edge. We got the close. He was like, we were able to up the budget a little bit. Like they were interested. So it was a dance we had to do to make it happen. But it was like afterwards, it was like, holy, we just did that. All of us together made it happen. Like everyone won in that. No one was sour. Everyone was excited. All parties involved were happy. It was cool.
Wow. So your favorite deal has to do with how many touch points there were. Like there were a lot of people that were connected. A lot of things were happening. It seems like it was very quick, fast paced.
I would say it was my favorite deal, partially because it was my first one here, but then also because, yeah, it was like we were about to lose him, and 30 minutes later, he was signing a contract with some like our guy. So it was like we got them involved to be like, yes, we can accommodate for that. Him to be like, yes, I'm interested in that. We had people in between doing all the communication back and forth, all on a Friday afternoon right before close. Like it was just like everything was happening. Like I didn't leave my phone. I was sitting on the counter like this, waiting for it to buzz for the next update.
That's
It was yeah,
crazy.
it was cool. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun though. It sounds like a rush.
The highs in sales are very high, that's for sure.
What did you do afterwards? Did you celebrate?
Yeah, I forget where I was going. I think my girlfriend and I had something planned that night, but I did call my dad. I told him like all about it. I was just kind of over the moon. So I
That's
was like,
so cool.
let me talk to someone about it. Yeah, it was fun. I don't think I like celebrated, but like I was excited.
No, that's cool. Some things like that you just kind of need to share. Okay, so you got to Siono, Director of BDR. What are you doing on your day to day?
So my day to day is a combination of being a BDR. I'm also like kind of an AE in terms of I keep pipeline moving. And then I make sure I have a pulse on like the whole sales pipeline and our strategy and outreach strategy to make sure like things are going well. So most of my day is BDRing. I will say like trying to drum up that new business. Once we have business and like people in the pipeline, my highest priority is making sure they're closing. And then we have another SDR on the team. Leo's fantastic. He's been killing it, but him and I meet daily just to be like, hey, how are things going? This is A, B, and C. Okay. How are you handling that? Do you need help with anything? Sweet. Like this is the expectation. It's a lot of hats, I guess.
How do you manage that?
It comes and goes with balance. I would say sometimes I'm not as and this is new for me. So this is part of the I'm learning the back end analytical or back end management part of it. Trying to get to a point where everything's systematized and we have standard of processes and like those are things I've never had to do. I always just showed up and played. So it's easy for me to go out and prospect and call and send emails and try and keep deals moving, but like also running the business and not just running sales playbooks is the fun balance I'm finding.
Mm, mm-hmm. Okay, so Siono was young whenever you got into it first, whenever you first started. How has it been to see it grow, and how has it been to participate in a company while it's growing?
Oh, that's so fun. That is so fun. So with that everything was laid out for me. Do A, B, and C. Don't just do A, B, and C. That's all we need from you. And like when I moved into the AE role, I had some more creative freedom building out like a sequence, and because it was like we just transitioned, we didn't have things figured out. So it was playing a bit of a game to figure that out. But with Siono, it's like, okay, we have to give it our best stab. We have to adapt accordingly. We also have to see like where's the vision going and how do we set ourselves up for that. So like, are we investing in that? Like, we don't have as much software as some of these backed companies do. Like, it's just part of the game. We have to do a lot more things manually. And like,
Mhm.
it's okay. Like, at what point does it make sense to get that technology? At what point does it make sense to get this? So it's like being present, but also planning so far in the future.
That makes sense. Um, like what are some of the so some of the people that listen to this are more beginner. What are some of the different specific tasks and how would you explain what you do to, let's say, a 5-year-old? Like take the finement technique and do it on your role.
Okay, so I reach out to companies and see if they're interested in hiring developers, see if they're interested in hiring new employees. I then court 5-year-old wouldn't know that word. I then I then make sure that they get to meet these developers, and if they like each other, they have a good relationship, all while making sure my teammates are doing the same thing and
That
doing
was
it.
solid. That was
I'm,
solid.
I'm a big believer in like if you can't explain it like really dumbed down, then like do you know it that well? That's so funny you brought that.
Yeah. Yeah, Feynman is really good. I feel like I always say his name wrong, but Feynman is always he's it's very difficult, especially whenever you get to higher levels, to start thinking so clearly about a topic that you can say it in very, very like small, childish level words.
Yeah, yeah, or even just taking the concepts and like what, and honestly, that's not a bad idea, a bad exercise for any of you guys just starting out, going into sales. If you can't do your pitch to a 5-year-old, you probably don't know what you're selling.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, that would be something to think about is like you only got 5 seconds on the phone. Someone's like potentially interested, maybe not interested. If you can't say it super simply, see ya.
What is your so saying it super simply, some people like to start with hooks. Are you a let me just lay out for you exactly what I have, or are you a let me hook and then go into
Like
things?
for the cold call,
Yeah.
I've played around with a few different ones. One that I've just it's been pretty successful for me is the like, hey, this is Jake calling. You weren't expecting my call. Like, can I just a quick moment tell you why I'm calling? And if it's not relevant, you can hang up on me afterwards.
That's not bad. So you
Yeah,
like,
you chuckled. So like that was a win.
yeah, I probably would have said okay.
I do get that a lot. Sometimes I get people that are like, no, and I'm like, okay. Other times it's like, hey, this is Jake Radic calling. I saw, and if it's like a reason I'm calling or like I noticed something, I'll lead with that. I saw you were hiring a senior front end developer. I have 2 people who are interested. Just want to know if it would be worth your time if I sent you their resumes.
hmm How do you do cold emailing well? What are some of your favorites for cold emailing?
I will say, self-awareness wise, like cold emailing is like of all the three, like LinkedIn, calling, emailing, that one's the one I still have to do. Like I got a lot to go. I would like to think I've gotten a lot better with it. Um, it's that personalization just makes it hard. It just
Mm,
makes it tough because it's like personal and relevant is really what you're gunning for. And it's easy if someone's active on LinkedIn or they have a podcast, like, hey, watch your recent episode. It made me think of this. But my biggest email thing is like keep it short. One message in your email. Do not have like a tangent of like, are you doing A or B? Like it's, are you doing A? Would A be of interest to you? I wish I have more to give, but like I really this is something that I'm not as strong in. So
no, I appreciate that you are self-aware enough to know that you're not as strong in it. What is your strongest space, do you think? LinkedIn or cold calling?
I've gotten pretty good and confident cold calling.
Okay, why do you think? Just like a mix of your personality and other skill set?
And feedback loop. Yeah, because
Mm,
like if someone picks up and you bomb a cold call, there's no like, how'd I do on that one? Do you think? It's like, dude, you sucked. Like very clearly they said screw off and they hung up on you. So it's like the feedback loop is just right away, instantaneous. The pattern
mm.
recognition is there. So like when something goes well, it's like, let me try it again. And it goes well again, and you're like, okay, let me try it again. And then you're on to something.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The whole instantaneous feedback loop. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like eating something bad. Like you know right away and you don't do it again. Or if you eat something good, you know very quickly.
Yeah, or it's like getting food poisoning. It's like 2 days later, you're like, what did I eat?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a great way to explain it. The food poisoning would be kind of like the cold emailing, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is like people can hide from emails. Like email response rates are like low, but
20, 30, something like that.
that's for
10 to,
open rates. Like the reply rates are even lower.
oh my
But
gosh.
on a call, it's like they can't hide. If they pick up the phone, it's like, what are you gonna
I've picked up the phone a couple of times and just like been like, damn, why did I pick it up?
do? And people who I call, they probably think the same thing.
How do you make sure that like so obviously you're still a person, you're selling something, but you still want to connect with people. How do you create these opportunities for you to connect with people, but also make sure that you get to the bottom line and sell your products?
Through a specific channel in general.
Let's do cold calling because that's your favorite or your best.
So cold calling, like it's pretty like straight. I'm big, straight to the point. After like if you want to do a hook of some kind, but like you have a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I am calling you because of this. And if someone's like, you got to read tone. If someone's super adamant about not doing it, it's like, hey man, totally understand. Like, just be a reasonable person. I've had people call like when they're at the gym, and I'm like, I'll be honest, I'm an athlete. Like, I get it. That's a dojo right there. Like, when's a better time for me to call you back? I want to respect your time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So establishing rapport in whatever way you can.
Yeah, just being like a human being. Like, no
Yeah.
one like understand that it's like you are a person who is doing a job. It is not like the job makes you who you are.
Mm. How do you bring in the aspects of yourself that are unique? Because like it is true, like the job doesn't make you you, you make you you, and then you can tailor the job to yourself. And there are obviously different ways that different salespeople sell. What are ways that you can lean into your specific traits?
Man, what a great question. Some of the best sales advice I ever got was find your own voice. And that's like not always the easiest. Um, I think it comes down to like you don't want to overthink things. You want to be comfortable. And like when you're comfortable with something, your personality tends to shine through with it. So like even on cold calls, like I'll crack silly jokes or like say something like half dumb that's not like super serious, like, oh, like it's just it's a part of what goes on. And like sometimes during emails I'll make like silly remarks and it's like sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't, but that's who I am. Like I like goofing around and such is life. Not everyone's gonna want to buy from me, not everyone's gonna want to buy what we have, and that's okay.
When do you curb that? Like sometimes I've written an email or like a LinkedIn post or something, and then I'll go back, I'll say something funny, and then I'll delete it before I send it because I'm like, I don't know if that'll hit. How often do you go back versus just like sending it?
I don't know. I guess it depends on the day. Like sometimes I just get rolled. I sent one email and it was a pretty bad one. I was
Ooh.
like, at the end, I was like, is this a good idea or is this just an absolutely terrible idea? Like I closed it. I was like, I don't know if this works and I might as well try it. And the guy was like, I was kind of interested until you ended it like an idiot. And I was like, fair enough.
Ooh, rough.
Yeah. But like, maybe it hit and I would have never known. No, it's I don't go back too often. I don't want if I ever feel like I'm dancing on the line of like a negative self-image or
Mm,
something that they would look at me and be like, think less of me because of it. That's normally when I'm like, okay, like let's filter this a little bit. But if it's something lighthearted, like what are they gonna do? Think I'm a goofball? I'm okay with that.
Okay, I like that. It goes back to your, so you think about yourself a lot in not a bad way, like in a good way, in kind of
Mhm.
like the how do I position myself well? How do I make decisions that are in line with who I am? How do I, make this, because it is really your journey. Like you as a salesperson, where you go is your journey. Um, Back to Siono. So what is your next move? Like what do you want next and how are you going to get there? Like I like asking people this question, especially because, um, like you're not, especially as somebody who likes to move forward, you're not planning to stay where you are, so you're obviously being proactive and you're obviously doing things that will continuously get you to the next level.
Right.
What is it that you want next and how are you going to do that?
That's a fantastic question. So I'll start with like, what do I want next at my current place? I think Siono is awesome. Like our founder is Andy Hill is like, I have so much respect for this guy for a couple main reasons. He's a serial entrepreneur, which I think is cool in and of itself, but also him and I view life so similarly. Like we're here to provide for other people, but also to live life. And like the way we do that is by working hard to allow us to do more things in life. So I still have a lot to learn from him, which is a lot of fun. I do feel like I'm building Siono, especially the sales side. I have a heavy hand in that. So like I do take a lot of pride in like we've had a really good past couple weeks. We've been killing it and it's super cool. Like I'm excited about that. Down the road, um, my best friend from school, he's an accountant and what we have a business idea on the come up for next March. He gets his CPA, so that'll be something we start collaborating on a business for a certain industry that him and I hold very near and dear to our hearts. And we got a couple cool visions for that. I have a side hustle right now that I do, which has been a lot of fun. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, take as many experiences as possible, and like do what excites me. My
Mm-hmm.
big thing is like and this is like a corny little Drake quote for all you guys out there who listen to music, but like the moment I stop having fun with it, I'll be done with it. Like it really is that. Like if you're not having fun with what you're doing, like there's so many things in life to do. Go find something. Go do something that fires you up.
I love that. It's like it's a stark difference from what used to be the narrative, which was like, okay, you're gonna get a job and you're gonna have it for the rest of your life, and you're gonna have one job and one track. When do you think that changed, and why did you adopt the I'm gonna do what I want at the times that I want and try and diversify and think through things?
I think I guess to answer your first question of when did that shift really start happening, I'm pretty new to this working thing. I graduated a little over a year ago, so I'm not fully sure. I know my pops, he bounced around a little bit. My mom's been a teacher at the same place for 20 some years. She's knocking on the door of retirement. So like I got both views in my family, but I think life is inherently selfish. Like everything we do is inherently selfish. I help other people because it makes me feel good. Does that make me selfish? Selfless? I would say it's more on the selfish side. But like and that this is part of the leadership game is like, how do you get people's selfish interests to align with what your selfish interests are?
Mm-hmm.
Like I got hired at BombBomb because they thought I could do a good job selling meetings. So that was their selfish interest. But my selfish interest was I wanted to do a sales job. And we found like the win-win of like, this is my pay. This is what I get to do at work. So they're getting a win, I'm getting a win. Like I was there selfishly, and selfishly, I left because another company had their selfish interest that aligned more with mine. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that in the slightest. I think that's just the way life goes.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a difference between, so growing up, I always had a weird understanding of selfishness. And I think that there's a difference between selfishness and morality. And they've been put together in a lot of senses. So you say you're selfish, and it seems like you're saying you're immoral when I think there are two different ways of viewing selfishness. One is I recognize that I do things for myself because that's actually more advantageous. Like I can't fill your cup if I have no water in my cup.
Yeah.
So let me fill my cup and then I'll fill your cup. Um yeah, I definitely agree. The selfishness is something that I want to understand a little bit more. I know that there are a lot of different philosophies about selfishness. Just like there's I think it's the objectivist philosophy on selfishness, which is basically selfishness as a virtue. People can argue about it. I'm not sure, but that does exist. So there's that. There are all types of different views on selfishness, but definitely a topic to look into.
Yeah, and I think I messaged you about this on LinkedIn before you popped in on this. Like my big life view is life is a buffet, and like I want to try everything, and anything I like, I'll go back and get seconds.
Hmm.
I really
Yeah.
don't believe stones unturned in life. I don't want to have regret of opportunities, and I think in my life I've done a pretty good job of living by that. And it really starts with like the end goal of like, what do I want? Some people like stability more than me. I'm not one to be like, I need a stable paying job. Like I'll rather take the accelerators with the bonus compensation and sales, knowing like I might not hit it, but I at least have a chance to hit it. And that's not everyone's cup of tea.
Why do you think? Because it makes you better, like doing that challenges you so that hypothetically, like you were to take the same job in 10 years, you would be better off for having done the other thing first.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it is I'll bet on myself like 10 out of 10 times.
I like it.
Like it's just who I am in nature. I'm ultra competitive. I'm confident. I will I understand that like I have a certain level of intellect, I have a certain level of resources, I'm resourceful. Like if there is a goal and I accept it, like I can achieve it, I would rather shoot for the moon than to just be like okay with what I have. And that goes back to the whole self-awareness discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's me. That's not everyone, and that's okay.
Definitely not everybody. Do you think just another very short tangent, and then I'll ask you a couple more questions about what you do. Do you think that most people could become more confident? Like, do you think it has to do with different limiting beliefs, or like, is it personality? Is
No,
there an aspect?
I think anyone can become more confident. I think that is there are self-limiting beliefs that kill people. I think there's also like I've had enough people in my life, starting with my parents, like from when I was born, tell me I can do anything to the point where I was like crazy enough to actually believe it. But I think that like self-limiting beliefs will hurt anyone who has them. Anyway, it doesn't matter what your self-limiting belief is. I can't do this because of X. Well, someone else did. So what's the difference? And you're smarter than them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Having that confidence, I think goes, I get more confident when I know like failing is okay. I think that's part of it. I think other parts of it is like I've tried things and succeeded that I didn't think I would succeed, but I took them on. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of nuance to that question that makes it tough to get in just like a short little tangent.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do think, and I'm 100% confident in this belief. Like this is so deeply rooted into who I am. It's like anyone can achieve anything if they just set the intention to do it. And they're like, I'm going to fail enough times until I succeed. And I'll learn from every failure and get a step closer every step of the way.
I'm gonna let that sink in for a second.
And
I
this is
think
one of
no,
the
it's
things on the
true.
side, sorry to like keep going, but like I've spoke at a few schools nearby, like the football teams, like about the journey and about like just understanding that if you want something, like for me growing up, my want was like Division I football. Like I didn't care what it was. I skipped a prom my junior year and my girlfriend at the time wasn't happy about it, but I had a football thing going. It was like you were my dream. Like I don't know, what do you want me to pick? But like I just wasn't willing to not get it. I wasn't willing to not do enough to get it. And I think it's hard to find something that makes you tick like that. And I don't think that's a normal way to tick. But I think everyone can find something to make them tick like that if they really like align themselves with their dream. It's possible for anyone. 1000%.
Is it like a sort of obsession, like healthy obsession?
Yeah, I heard joyful obsessions probably my favorite trait. I've heard like every really successful high level quarterback would be like I'm joyfully like this is just what I want to do. I wake up and like that's the first thing my mind wants to do. So that joyful obsession definitely helps. And openly I'm very Christian. like I believe like I have a purpose in life that God assigned me. And when I do things that I think align with that is where I find that joyful obsession.
How do you find that?
Trial and error, I guess. A lot of like, what am I intrinsically good at? Why am I intrinsically good at this? Like if it's, I believe like those things are a gift from God. So if I don't use my gifts, then like that is like it's my responsibility to use my gifts that he blessed me with. That is how I
Mm.
view it. That's how I've come to view it. And it's like if I stay true to my God-given talents, stay true to my God-given morals, and like find a way for those to coincide, normally that's where I see the most success. But not everyone's going to have that belief, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess the way that I think about it is that if you just keep on going forward, you'll definitely end up better off than where you had started.
And even to further that point, like I would say, I mean, how many stories have you read about old people on their deathbed? And it's like, what's the thing in life you regret the most? What's the thing in life you would go back and change? Like, I wish
Mm-hmm.
I tried more to chase these things. And I think like any young person, even like young as a relative term, like any 50-year-old who's younger that's not on their deathbed, like take note of that. Like if there's a pattern of so many people are like, my biggest regret is not trying enough, like you don't try enough, that's gonna be you.
Mm-hmm. So at what point do you like you could work yourself to the ground? At
Right.
what point do you have to give yourself the things that you need? So like sleep, are you very adamant about getting the right amount of sleep or getting the right amount of like making sure that you fill your own cup first?
I'm very diligent about my sleep. I try and wake up at like for me, anything past 6 a.m. is sleeping in. That's just how my standard is. But also anything past 9:30 is like, oh my God, I stayed up so late last night. That's just how I am. Um, but I do think there's like sacrifice involved. It's what are you willing to sacrifice? And I think it like the goes back to self-awareness. Like, are you putting yourself in a negative state or are you just like doing whatever it takes? And that's a balance in and of itself that is not an easy one by any means, that everyone has their own journey with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get back into the nitty gritty of sales.
Philosophy class.
Of sales. Okay. What is your favorite topic in sales? And let's dive into that and kind of small, tiny masterclass by Jake.
Favorite topic in sales? Um, Man, what a fantastic question. I hired a sales coach recently and I really enjoyed getting better at discovery. Discovery is something that was really hard for me at first. I didn't understand the dance or the game of it. I would just like ask questions and be like, okay, the next question I have to ask you. But there really is a dance to doing discovery well. And that was something that took me a little bit to learn that I've made a lot of strides in recently, and I've been doing a lot better and getting better results. So we'll do that one, discovery, locking it in.
I love this. I love this one because actually, so first, nobody's talked about this yet on the podcast.
Really?
Like not really in depth, no. And second, I actually imagine that if I were in your position, I would also have an issue with discovery because like a part of you wants to do it the right way. You're like, okay, how do I go about this? But then there's this natural way that the conversation needs to flow for you to actually discover things. There's some questions that you should ask, and then making sure that you ask the right questions. Um, so yeah, love this topic. First, let's begin with the 5-year-old. How do you explain discovery?
Um, Discovery is figuring out why they want something.
That was perfect.
That
Okay.
was that one's the easiest one we've had yet.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, so on an actual level, what is the setting? Set the setting for me. Where are you? What are you doing? How are you meeting them? How did they get to you?
Yeah. So got to me via some outreach. We don't have a ton of inbound. We're pretty young right now. And like we're just starting to ramp up marketing. So it would have been some outreach. I reached out to them specifically about a very specific opening. So I am meeting with you because you are hiring a full stack developer, let's say JavaScript, if we want to make it really specific. For those of you who don't know what it is, it doesn't really matter. So then we end up meeting on Zoom at a desired time. Um, I would say when you start discovery, like that first few minutes ends up being important because you want it to feel like that sets up like how conversational is this going to be.
Mm.
They going to look at me as someone who's like just some Joe Schmo over here doing my job, like collecting data. I don't know anything. Or are they going to look at me as like someone who's like actually trying to help? I'm genuinely curious. Like, don't ever ask them about the weather ever, unless some crazy event's going on. Like you're in Texas. Let's say you had a heat wave. Be like, dude, is your AC going okay? You guys still kicking down there? Need me to ship some ice? Like, ask them personal things. That's something that I've noticed is like peel back the layer of like, why are they where they are? How'd you end up there? I saw on LinkedIn you've been there for a year and a half. Like, are you enjoying it? Like a year and a half's a long time. You got to be enjoying it at least a little bit, right? Like, tell me about that. What was it like before? What made you switch? How are things going? Like, what kind of are you guys like on track, hitting your goals and stuff? Like, and it doesn't, you don't want it to feel like you're grilling them. You're just curious about like, who are they?
Mm. So it's like changing the flow of the conversation by, I guess, changing the tone because they expect a certain type of exchange, and then you come in and you offer an entirely different exchange.
Right. And even like they want to buy and do business with who they like. So I have a lot of business owner friends who they specific like a vendor might be fantastic or a customer might be great. They have a lot of profit on them, but they're like, I hate working with them. I don't like them as a person. I'm not going to do business with them. Which a lot of people have the liberty to do because there aren't so many technologies out there that are like absolutely one of a kind. There's no substitute at all.
Mm.
So if you come off as like not likable in any way, shape, or form, or like they don't respect you, or you don't like show any genuine curiosity in them, like it's a very real possibility that'll be the last conversation you ever have with them.
Mm. Yeah, and that would suck. What are some of the tips that your coach has been giving you for going about this, and what are some of the mistakes that you were making in the beginning?
I wasn't going deep enough. Like once I started thinking I was getting better at discovery, which I was getting better, but not like as good as I wanted to, like go deep, like just ask with a curious tone. So it's like, what have you tried so far? Oh, and that didn't work? No, it didn't. Oh, well, like, why not? Like you tried it, you thought it was gonna work. I'm sure you got stuck up somewhere you weren't expecting. Then you get to find more out and more out. And it's like one thing that my bomb guy, Justin, he told me is like listen for pain words or like certain adjectives like frustrating. Repeat that back. I'm like, oh, frustrating. How so? Because then you're getting the understanding of like why they felt something. And so much of sales is that emotional part where it's like people buy with their emotions, they justify with their mind. So if you can really dig into like what emotions did they feel, why did they feel those, you can start progressing forward in a deeper level.
Mm. That makes a lot of sense. That 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 unlocked a part of my mind. The way that you explained it, the way that you kind of gave the example, because I think it's a bit of you almost transfer care.
Yeah, and the other part of that is like they get closer to you because they're like revealing all of this like big master.
Mm.
But like every time they say something, you're just like ammo for later, ammo for later, ammo for later. So like when things come around, it's like, look, we're doing this because you said this. And now it's like, oh yeah, I did say that. Yeah, they got me. It's like not, it's there's a rhyme and reason, and it's hard sometimes to get their rhyme to your reason. And it's harder to like tell them why everything connects. So like it's like this big process of like you have to do so much on the front end to make sense on the back end
Mm-hmm.
that like if you don't do well on the front end, you're not going to do well on the back end. And it's like then what? And then it's like, okay, well, you gotta do better on the front end. It's like, how do I do better on the back end? It's like do better on the front end, do better on the like it's all down to like how deep can your questions get. And this is like I forget what we were talking about earlier. Oh, it's like when you're in a conversation, you're worried about how you look, but like no one cares. I was always like, are they not gonna know like I'm asking these questions? Are they not gonna feel like I'm grilling them or anything? The dude was like, no, they're not. Just try it. I was like, okay, I will. And I every time I thought I'd ask a question where they'd be like, chill out. not no point. Were they like, that's too close for a question? It's too aggressive. Like you're asking too much. So I thought that was interesting.
Why do you think that is? Is it because like they're thinking about themselves whenever you ask them a question?
Yeah, and I would say, unless you're selling to salespeople who like are looking into these tactics, like anytime someone's selling me something, I'm always like, what questions are they asking? Why are they like people don't know the dance?
I do that too now.
Like you're like I'm trying to think. I was going car shopping last weekend and I went in and like told the guy what I was interested in. And he was like, cool. And he just took off in a direction. I was like, man, he didn't ask anything else. How disappointing. I like wanted to see where he'd go.
That's hilarious. You're like, he didn't do it.
Yeah, it was like, ah. But one of the great practices my sales coach gave me was it's periods versus question marks. And it's like if we were to do something where it was like only questions, like if you want to ask a question or you want to answer it, you have to answer it with a question. So for us, it would be like, do you want to go first?
Do you want to go first?
Right? Like that's how you would want to respond. And it's like that game, you just keep going, but it's like hard. And then we leveled
It's
that
very hard.
with I did this when I'll do this with my girlfriend sometimes if I want to practice. She doesn't know I do it, which is funny. But like I'll only say questions. That's it. And at no point,
Oh,
like, are you gonna say something? Because like it's part of the conversation, right? Do you
mm-hmm.
feel like I'm grilling you?
Not really, no.
Does it feel like I'm just kind of guiding?
Yeah.
Am I still here? Like at that, I just asked 4 questions in a row, but at no point did it feel like we weren't having a conversation. So people, it goes over their head.
Mm-hmm. You're also changing the inflection too, though. So like it changes the way it's that is so interesting. It's both what you say and how you say it, and kind of
Mhm.
like I don't know, it's not static. Like you didn't say the same question the same way because otherwise I probably would have picked up on it a lot harder.
Right. And like for anyone starting out sales, like tonality is such an important aspect to it. Jordan Belfort's book, Way of the Wolf, I think painted it the best for me. Or no, maybe it was the dude who has Black Swan Group. It's Never Split the Difference. That's a big book on tonality, but like understanding how your tone changes how people listen. So like when I would go speak at schools and like speak to these teams, like when I knew it was like a part I really wanted to drill into them, I would slow down. I would speak a little sterner, just like this. And the place was silent and everyone was looking at me. And then when I transitioned stories, I'd speak like that again and the whole mood of it changed.
How did you get good at that? Practice?
Practice and self-awareness more so because like we practice every day. Like think about if you're arguing with someone and you're like, listen to me. You do it right there instinctually. It's just a matter of being aware of when you do it, why you do it, how things work. It's and yeah, self-awareness, I guess, more than anything.
Yeah, doing it intentionally is difficult. There are a couple of times whenever I've thought about doing something like, for example, what you did with your girlfriend, where like you're intentionally, asking questions or just trying to see how things go. And it's so difficult to do
It
it
is.
intentionally.
It is, but I will say that that single little drill or practice, whatever you want to call it, like doing that with her when we're like playing cards or whatever. We love playing cards. We're old. But like doing that is like it helped me in sales so much because I became more instinctive
Really?
responding with questions. It
Mm.
was so odd. Like it was something I never thought I'd see a benefit in, but I like trusted the guy. I'm paying him money. I might as well listen to him. He knows more than me. So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And then the next discovery call I had, it was like the day after I was doing this. I was at the end of it, I was like, damn, I asked so many questions.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. So this coach has been worth it for you.
Yeah, yeah. We actually we had a little bit of a mix up. Him and I are no longer working together, but I'm not upset about it. He was great for like the time being, and like I'm not gonna put his name out there or anything like that. That'd be free publicity. But no, he was great. Like I learned so much from him, and I'm really glad I did it because he helped me move forward and progress, which goes back to being proactive about getting better.
So do you believe in coaching and making sure that you
Absolutely. And the mindset as to why, there's two big kickers. The first one makes sense. I want to be better. Yeah, self-explanatory. The second one is one that Alex Hormozy talks about a lot. And if you aren't familiar or anyone else is not familiar, Alex Hormozy's podcast, The Game, is like my favorite out. Sorry to say that on a podcast feature.
No,
Like
you're
that's
so good. I haven't checked out his podcast. I love his stuff. He's just
he's
like,
fantastic.
he is, what is a good adjective that could describe him?
Baller, stud. No, but like I think because he's actually went through so many life experiences and like he had to do all the sales and had to do all the marketing and had to do all this stuff that like he can give it in a way that it's so thorough and so complete. It's not like he's just a sales guy. Like he's like, this is why sales is important. This is why this is important. And this is how they tie together. But he's big on time. He's like, I will pay someone money if they can save me 3 years of my life. I just became 3 years younger by paying that money, essentially. And I was thinking about that and I was like, damn, like with everything I want to do in life, if I can get there faster and reap the benefits faster, why wouldn't I just pay? I paid to join a mastermind for the one side hustle I'm doing. It's like, yeah, I had to pay money up front, but now I'm like, I had 3 monthly payments. I have enough revenue to cover 2 of those monthly payments, and I have more on the way. It's like it works, but I'm going to be further ahead faster, so I have more time of being better, which is fun. Everyone likes being good at things.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of difficult sometimes to, well, because it is an investment and sometimes you don't know if it's gonna turn out the way that you'd hope for it to. But I think the thing that um actually Layla Hormozy, his wife, said, she was
Baller.
like, yeah, they're both so cool. She was basically saying that there were some courses that she bought that were not worth it, but she was like, I never have regretted buying a course because I know I'm investing in myself. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and Alex actually says something similar but slightly different. He's like, yeah, those courses might not have panned out, but like, let's say you need to get like 100% of the way there to see success in whatever there is, whatever metric it is. And this course that you didn't see as successful got you 80% of the way there. And that next course just got you that 20 extra percent. Like you wouldn't have been there without that first course. You don't know if like that plays a part in bigger success.
um Steve Jobs has a quote. He's like, I've been playing this quote around in my mind recently. He's like, you can't see the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back. And like,
I like that. That's cool.
it's so good. Yeah. It's hard, it's so difficult to understand exactly what you need to do next. You mentioned skill stacking in the very beginning of this call. That
Mhm.
is one of the concepts that I'm really interested in because um I think it like it's easy to conceptualize. Did you hear it from Alex Ramosi?
I think that one like reaffirmed it in my mind. I knew about
Okay.
backing before, but like he just drills it in.
Yeah, he does. So let's go into that a little bit more. Like, how do you choose the next skill? How do you decide? I don't know if this is a you thing at all, but um, some people have a vision. Like some people have something that they would like to aspire towards. Other
Mhm.
people don't, and I don't know if it's that they won't let themselves or if they legitimately do not. Um, skill stacking towards something that you can kind of conceptualize is a lot easier than skill stacking against something you can't conceptualize. What do
Right.
you think? Do you think that it's both?
Yeah, I think it's like people who are like, I don't know what I want to be. Like, I just want to be like rich one day though.
Yeah.
Like, even that's like, okay, like let's break that down further. What do rich people have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, find a skill that they have and get a job doing that. And I think jobs are like even the craziest thing for skill stacking. Like you're getting paid to learn how to do something.
I love that. Yes.
Like that's crazy. One of my buddies, college buddy, he's like, I want to learn A, B, and C, and like that's what I want to do. I was like, bro, get a job. They'll pay you to learn how to do that. Like, get a job in that field. That's nuts. I wanted to learn how to do sales. Bomb Bomb paid me to learn. Incredible.
Mm-hmm. So what is your next thing to add on as a skill, and how are you gonna go about filling those stacks in?
Very fun question. So the side hustle I started doing in the mastermind I joined is a marketing based side hustle, marketing based mastermind. So like I have my sales base now. So like my getting customers I've been able to do. I've been able to find channels in which to reach out to them, compelling enough pitch, offer, whatever. Like I have people who are paying me to learn how to do marketing. Now, I'm not the greatest marketer in the world. That is a-okay because the reality is I'm going to mess some, like I'm going to fail with some of these people. They're going to probably not be return customers. Like even the best SaaS companies have churn. It's a journey for me to learn. I'm getting paid to do it. And to answer your question all in short, I guess that was a long one, but marketing. So
Why did you choose those two?
that's a good question. The sales was personality based, along with like what do a lot of really wealthy people have? Like everyone's like, dude, you gotta learn sales at some point. Like even if you're trying to ask a girl out on a date, like you're gonna have to sell yourself. Even if you're trying to like you're with a group of friends and you're trying to get them to go to a certain bar at night, like you gotta sell yourself, sell the bar, like whatever it is. So I'm like, okay, that one makes sense. But like marketing, I felt just goes hand in hand with sales. Like it's all under like the how do we get more customers umbrella. So that one made sense to me.
Okay, I like it. So then you took this like I want to learn marketing and then you created or you found an angle that would allow you to learn it while you made money. So not only do you make money while you learn it, you also have added accountability, which makes you learn it better.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to have to be measurable. Like this is your return or this is your lack of return. Like those are the two options. Um yeah, it's also one of those things that comes with like no one ever has things figured out. So for people just starting out in SaaS, like yeah, you might be nervous for this new customer success role. Like you're not going to be perfect. Like no one is perfect. That's okay. Like even companies don't have things figured out. They're just doing their damn best. So
Hmm.
like for anyone who's starting out in SaaS and their vision is like a year from now, I want to be able to I want to sell jewelry online. Like start paying attention internally. Like if you're in sales, like how are people selling? If you're in marketing, how are you guys doing marketing? Like make it so what you're learning there applies to your own vision and your own journey and like you get paid to do it along the way. It's pretty badass in my opinion.
I would agree. Okay, let me ask you the rapid fire questions. These are the questions that I ask everybody at the end. They're kind of fun. I may actually add in a couple of other questions because I think I've asked one of the questions during the interview.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready when you are.
Okay, what is the biggest challenge that you've faced in SaaS so far?
Oh God, I'm trying to be rapid fire with this one.
I think
Patience.
rapid fire is a bad word for this
Oh,
section.
so it's just like we're not going to go deeper.
I mean, we can go deeper. That's the problem. So like I usually end up going deeper, so I think it's a really bad title for the section.
Well,
Um,
you can call it a blitz instead.
Blitz. That's a football term.
I didn't mean it like that, but yeah. To answer your question though, definitely patience. Like in patience is hard. Like understanding other prospects that you're reaching out to, they're not going to get back to you right away because they have their own timeline. That doesn't mean they don't want to talk to you or they're not interested. You just don't get the full picture early on. You just got to wait and keep going and trust the people around you who know a little more.
That's a good answer. Okay, the second question. What is your favorite aspect of the SaaS industry?
I would say community is pretty cool. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. A lot of SaaS people are like super LinkedIn heavy. I met some cool people in SaaS. So maybe the community aspect of it or transferable skills.
How do you connect well with people on LinkedIn?
Um, like part of me is like, do I want to give a strategic answer? Do I want to just be like the obvious answer of like you just do engage with their stuff? I put effort into like the voice memos. If I'm like not by my laptop, if I'm by my laptop, I'll take a video. I think did I send you a voice memo or a video?
You sent me a video. That was cool. I was so pleased.
Yeah, so like anytime, and especially like if I have a guy crush on someone on LinkedIn, like I just think they're like super cool and they're like killing it, and I connect with them, I'm gonna send them a video. I'm gonna ask them for like a question. I'm gonna try and make it engaging. It's like anytime you want to make friends in life, you gotta like bring a certain energy to the table where it's like they feel good after listening to you talk. And
Hmm.
you gotta make it a little bit about them where they're invested in it. If it's just like me, and I drain the energy from you, like you'll never talk to me again.
Yeah, I liked it. So I thought that it was something like somebody pitching me on something at first, whenever I first saw your video. And I was like,
That's part of the problem is people have like really jacked it up. So like anytime I send a video, it doesn't even get watched anymore. Like everyone's like, oh, they're pitching me. I'm like, damn, man, I'm just trying to say what's up.
yeah, I thought it was a pitch video at first, and then I watched it and I was like, oh, this is so cool.
I'm glad.
Yeah, it's a good method. I've thought about using it. The only problem is it looking like a pitch video.
Yeah, and I think part of it is like you got to be a little goofy in the beginning. Like you
Yeah.
can't just be like, hello. It's got to be like, dude, what's going on, man? Thanks for connecting with me. Like this is like my normal flow. All right, ready? Hey, what's going on? Thank you so much for connecting with me here on LinkedIn. Appreciate it. I am always open to helping people out. So check out my network. If I keep it open. So if you want to intro to anyone, let me know. I also noticed you're interested in A, B, and C. I think that's super cool. Have a question for you about it, but we'll see if you watch this video or not. So with that being said, make it a fantastic day and I'll talk to you later.
That was pretty good.
I take a lot of those.
So you're like on repeat, you're ready for it.
Yeah, pretty. And when I was at Bomb Bomb, man, like, cause that's what we sold. That's just what we did. It was daily.
That's kind of cool though. Like I like how personalized it is. It is a problem that it is seen as a potential pitch. I don't know how you'd go around that. I'm thinking about like maybe you say things before, maybe you, I don't know, because it's perfect. Like sending that video, it creates immediate rapport. It's not just words. Words are great, but like it's human to human very quickly.
Yeah, and like for me, one, I've sent so many damn videos that like I know I'm good at it. Two, it's like the self-awareness of like if you bring energy to it. Like if someone watches my video, I know that at the end of the video, they will like me more, which is a cool thought. So then it's like, how do you like this is not a video? Do you hold or not a sales pitch? Hold one of those up? Like, do you say like
That's a great idea.
I have an app. If any of you guys out there are getting into it and you have personal video messaging, this app is called Make It Big. Um, it's starting SaaS. That's what I almost said SaaS starter. Starting. All right. And then all it is something like this.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then if sometimes if I'm feeling super groovy, I give it a little shake and it does that.
That's really cool. Is that just like one of your party trick apps?
Yeah, for personal video, like kind of I got sick and tired of the whiteboards. I'd hold a whiteboard up, but I'd always get that stuff on me and I hated it. I hated it.
Oh, at least it's not a chalkboard. Those are worse.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, last question. Let's see. This is the one that I get to come up with because I already asked you what you wish you knew when you started. Unless that question
That's a
is
great
changing.
question, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Um, last question. Oh, work-life balance. The question is, how do you make sure that you are challenging yourself in work while not allowing it to cross the boundaries of like life? Like I'm living, I have people, relationships, family, responsibilities outside of work.
Gosh, this is a good question for a couple different reasons. There's so many different angles to it, and also like it's not easy to execute. So I might just end up tangenting on this one a little bit. But I think it starts with what kind of life do you want?
Mm,
If you want to make if you want to start a business, make a crap load of money, like you're going to have to sacrifice. You're not going to have work-life balance right now because it's delayed gratification. If you're starting out in SaaS and you really, really want to be the best at whatever it is you do, and you're just starting out, but you want to be the best ASAP Rocky, like you're not going to have a great work-life balance because you're going to put more time into work because you want to get there faster. So for me, I always put too much gas on the pedal. Like I go too hard. I feel a little bit mundane after a little bit. And then I have the self-awareness to pull back and like go camping or go fishing. Like it's important to find things that help you recharge. And it's different for everyone. I straight up don't have a ton of friends out here in Colorado because I do things on the weekend that are like moving me forward in business, or I'm camping or I'm hanging out with my girlfriend. Like that's kind of how it goes. But that's my work-life balance. I work more because I enjoy like the progress. But when that's too much for me, I have these outlets to turn to. And the final thing I'll say about that is if you want a better work-life balance, spend your life balance part outside of work less on your phone and you will feel more recharged. The best quote I ever heard on LinkedIn, ever. This might even be like quote of the year for me this year. I think it was Andrew Melbourne. He has the Brand 30 cohort for people who are trying to grow their LinkedIn. I think it's him. So if I give him credit and it's someone else, I apologize to whoever it is. I'm trying to give credit though. Do things in life that give you more energy. Work-life balance is coming because you feel like you don't have the energy. You're feeling drained. It's because like work doesn't give you energy, it takes energy. So one thing I do is like I train some local youth quarterbacks. It's like an hour of my time. And I am like, I get paid to do it, which baffles me because I would literally pay my hourly rate to them to train their kids because I have so much fun doing it. It fires me up. I can't go to sleep the night before. I can't go to sleep that night because it brings me so much energy. And like it's fun. It is a work-life balance. Work was a hard day. I'm about to go train this kid he's an 8-year-old. It's so fun. I come back, I had the best day of the week and work sucked because what I do outside of work brings me energy. So that's the end of my tangent there, but it's something I'm passionate about, which is why I had to go on that tangent. It's a hard thing to balance.
I appreciated that tangent. Thank you for giving it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to it. That's so fun.
It was good. It was really good. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. You seem to be rife. I don't know what the word is, with resources. What are some great resources for people to check out? Books, podcasts,
resources.
people.
So, LinkedIn is the easiest one, I will say, because if you're just starting out, you get into your company, someone there will be active or have a LinkedIn, or someone will be present in some way, shape, or form. Literally just go ask them. It's a fantastic conversation starter for someone outside of your pillar of work, even if it's a CEO or a CTO, VP of sales, whatever it may be. Shoot them a Slack message and say, hey, I'm really interested in trying to get deeper into this realm. I notice you're following, or you have a really big LinkedIn following. Like, who would you recommend I turn to? Who would you recommend I follow? Super simple. That's for one. LinkedIn's awesome because everyone there wants to help who's actually active. Two is podcasts are fantastic. My sales go-to podcast starting out was 30 Minutes to President's Club. They crush it. It's a lot of people coming in with really tangible things. They have success stories of like, this is what took me to the next level. And a lot of it is like they end with like, these are tangible things you can use to grow yourself. The other resource I would say is
You mentioned the Challenger sale.
Yeah, books are big. Books are big. I mentioned Jordan Belfort's book, not the Challenger sale, but I've heard great things about the Challenger sale, and I've been
Okay.
about it. I will say books become tough if you're a bookworm. I love reading. Like that is like I can procrastinate and feel productive if I read. So I will warn against reading. Reading is fantastic after you've tried something. Try, fail, read to see what gaps you have. Don't read and then try and apply it because you don't even know where to apply it. So Reading is important, but don't overemphasis. No overemphasis on the reading. Yeah.
Those were great. Thank you very, very much for coming on the podcast. I enjoyed talking to you. I think that people are really going to appreciate all of your insights, especially the mindset. Like, it's very helpful.
Mindset's tough. I would say mindset's like 60% of, maybe even 70 to 75% of the battles in life. Like once you have that figured out, everything seems to fall into place a little more. But yeah, no, I love this was so much fun.
Is there anywhere that people can find you? I'm going to put all your links in the description, but LinkedIn, where else can they find you?
Oh, great question. So LinkedIn, if you just look up Jake Radic, I'm pretty active on there. I used to be super active. I'm less active now, but I think that'll be changing in the future, near future. My Instagram, if you look up Jake Radic, nice thing about having the name I have is not a ton of people have it, so you should be able to find me. And then Twitter, I'm about to be super active on Twitter here coming in the second week of August. I actually joined a new program, Ship 30 for 30, hosted by Nicholas Cole and Dickie Bush. They help people
That's
become
good.
better online writers. So if you guys are interested in seeing my journey of becoming a better online writer, LinkedIn and Twitter is going to be where it is at.
That's amazing. All right. Well, all of that will be linked in the description below.